I have with us Debbie Friends. And Debbie, we'd love you to come on and share.
Great. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Deb, go right ahead.
All right. Well, thank you for asking me to share. I am Debbie Grenz, and I live in Albany, Oregon. I am a stay-at-home mom and wife and full-time Relive distributor. But when Relive found me, I wasn't looking for a supplement. I thought I was doing everything I needed to keep my family healthy. I wasn't looking for a business either because I was in a career that I loved. But I saved the number because it was very interesting, and about a year and a half later, I went to work one day and was told that I only had a week left to work. So I went out and started looking for a job, and 6 months later, I was still looking. That's when I remembered that number, and I called, and I heard what the products were doing for people and also what the business was doing for people. And within a week's time, my husband and I decided this is what I needed to be doing. So we started the business and the products at the same time. Very quickly found out we weren't as healthy as we thought we were. I was waking up with a headache every morning, taking 800 milligrams of ibuprofen to get rid of it. I have suffered from migraines since I was about 20, and I was 50 when I started the product. I have had horrible allergies since I was a child, on 2 and sometimes 3 prescription drugs just to be comfortable. And I had osteoarthritis in both hips so that I couldn't walk for exercise. We have 3 adopted children, and the oldest one was, when we got him, he was failure to thrive. And we have a grandson who we didn't think was going to be able to go to kindergarten because of his ADHD. Well, the first thing that happened for us was my headaches went away. I haven't had a full-blown migraine since I started the product. I got off of all of my allergy medication. I've had the best summers of my life. No longer have sinus infections all winter long. I no longer have hip pain. Our failure to thrive son had gained 5 pounds in the first 3 years after we got him. After we started the products, he gained 5 pounds in the first couple of months, which was just amazing. Our grandson, who was ADHD, started taking the products the summer before he went to kindergarten, and he is in 6th grade now and doing great. And my husband, I forgot to tell you about this, my husband was just ready to get put on blood pressure medication when we started the product, and he never had to go on blood pressure medication. And the story just goes on and on from there. But, we are just so thankful that we found Relive products, and we're never going to stop taking them.
Good. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing. Okay. Next, we're going to head over to Virginia. Tonight, we have with us Kathy Fairburn. And, Kathy, we'd love you to come on and share.
Great. Thank you so much for asking me, Bill.
Sure.
My name is Kathy Fairbairn. I live with my family in Herndon, Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C., and we've gotten some great results with the Relive products at our house. First of all, I noticed the first change was my allergies went away, and I had horrible seasonal allergies. In the spring and the fall, I'd want to hide in my house because I couldn't take going outside, but now I can go gardening in the spring. I can go walking in the woods in the fall. I can't even tell when the pollen count is high anymore. It's just been such a blessing. Usually my allergies would go into sinus infections every year and then into bronchitis and sometimes pneumonia, but Relive has really broken that cycle, and I'm just so thankful. I used to suffer with hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugar, and I had very low energy. I would have to take frequent naps, and if I sat down in a chair, I would fall asleep. But not anymore. I feel like I have 3 more productive hours to my day. I have so much more energy and feel great. I noticed after I was on Relive for a while, my knees started hurting when I was going up and down the stairs. And that was about the time that the Lunar Ridge X capsules came out. And I started taking those. I took 4 a day. And after a week, I had no more knee pain. I was really amazed. Our son uses the Relive products for football conditioning and for weightlifting. He uses the products primarily for prevention, and it's really helped improve his immune system. He hasn't been sick hardly at all. He's noticed that he has more energy and stamina, especially with sports, and it's really improved his recovery time, which has really been great. My husband got relief from high blood pressure and high cholesterol. Both of those are in the normal range now. The big news was our daughter, and she was the reason why we got involved with Relive. I had never heard of Relive before, but our daughter started getting sick with a mysterious, exhausting illness when she was 15. She had just started high school. And I didn't know what was wrong with her, and we were going from doctor to doctor looking for answers. She just started getting weaker and weaker, and pretty soon she wasn't able to go to school. She was getting more and more tired. She couldn't participate in sports. She couldn't even walk because she couldn't sit up or stand up without getting dizzy and nauseous and almost fainting. Well, I took her to a nutritionist who gave us a list of supplements as long as my arm, and I was buying out the health food store, buying all these products online, trying to help her, and I made her take them consistently and faithfully. She took them for over a year, and they did absolutely nothing. She just got worse. And I was getting really concerned. Her pediatrician sent us to a specialist at Johns Hopkins University Hospital for Children, and the doctor there said that she had chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, and something called POTS disease. She was basically bedridden because he said her veins were too stretchy and that they couldn't constrict enough to pump the blood back up to her heart and then up to her head. So she was having all kinds of cognitive issues. She couldn't remember things. Her short-term memory was very poor. She couldn't remember the lessons that her tutors gave her from week to week. She couldn't remember the contacts in her phone. She would call up the first person that was in her phone and say, "Who are you and why are you in my phone?" And the kid would say, "Oh, I used to sit next to you in English class." And she got very frustrated and very discouraged. You know, she was getting depressed about the whole situation. And the doctor's answer was he wanted to give her a prescription for antidepressants. And I said, "What do you want to do that for?" And he said, "Well, her mood is low." And I said, "Well, your mood would be low, too, if you were 16 and couldn't get out of bed." And he said, "Well, it'll give her more energy." And I said, "Can't we do that with food or something?" And he said, "Well, if you don't want to be on Lexapro, I can give her Ritalin." And I just didn't think that was the answer. You know, I didn't want her to have the side effects of Ritalin. I didn't want her to get hooked on antidepressants. So we went back home, and I was really praying to God for answers, asking Him to really help us because I didn't know how we could help our daughter, and I felt as though she was dying. The tachycardia and the POTS was going to kill her. I mean, sometimes her heart rate would race so fast that you could see it beating in her chest, and at other times it would beat so slowly she was gasping for air. So I was really concerned about her. But thanks be to God, friends called us up out of the blue about a week later and said they were going to a meeting in the Washington area and could they stay at our house for the weekend. And I said, sure. And when they came, they brought the Relive products with them, and they said, we've been thinking and taking this stuff, and we're feeling better, and we think it'll help your daughter. I just don't think that supplements work because she's been on all these other things for over a year, and she's just getting worse. They're not helping at all. And they said, well, this is different. She should try this. So they gave her a double shake, and she drank it down, and after about 15 or 20 minutes, she got a little mental clarity, and she was getting more energy. So I took that as my sign that I needed to put her on the product. So she was on 3 double shakes a day with a product called Energize in between to help with her electrolyte balance. And then she had to go back to the doctor. And I did not tell him that we put her on the supplements because I didn't want him to say don't take it. But he noticed right away when she walked in the door that her depression had lifted. I noticed that her short-term memory was coming back. Her eyesight was getting better. Her sense of smell was coming back. I didn't even know she lost her sense of smell. He looked in her ears, nose, and throat and noticed that her allergies were going away. Her acne was clearing up. Her blood pressure was stabilizing. The tachycardia was calming down. She was in a research project with him at that point, and he was measuring all the angles of her joint. And he said, well, this is interesting. There's no more fibromyalgia. And then he looked at me, and then he did the range of motion measurements, and he said, wow, her range of motion has really improved. So he wrote all this down in his chart. He sat down, he took his glasses off, and he turned and looked at me, and he pointed his finger at me, and he said, what have you been doing? Just like that. He said, I have never seen anybody recover so quickly or so completely before. And I told him about Relive, and he said, oh, I know those products. And I said, you do? Like, why didn't you tell me? He said, oh, yeah, way back when I was graduating from medical school, a colleague of mine was test marketing Relive. He said, that's the stuff that comes in a can, right? And I said, right. He said, oh, yeah, we used to get free samples of it. What's in it? So I showed him all the labels on the can. He looked at all the ingredients. And he said, well, there's nothing in these products that can hurt her. It's obviously helping her. So continue doing what you're doing, and I'll see you back in about 3 months. So we kept her on 3 double shakes a day with Energize in between. And she went back after 3 months, and she had improved significantly again. And he said, keep doing what you're doing. I'll see you back in 3 months. Well, eventually he had to release her because there was nothing else he could do for her. And long story short, she finished high school. She got her driver's license. She's going to college now. She's working part-time as a veterinary nurse, which is what she's studying in college. And she's her happy, bubbly self again. And Bill, I just have to tell you, I am so grateful to God. He has given us our daughter back. We are just so thankful.
Wow. Powerful story, Kathy. That's just awesome. We all rejoice with you. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. What a powerful story of recovery and for all of you, but watching and hearing what's happened for Corey is just amazing. So thank you so much.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
you doing that for us tonight. Okay, well, next we're going to head over to another part of Florida, and I'm with us tonight, David Clark. And David, I'd love you to share.
Hi, Bill. Can you hear me?
Yes, David.
Can you hear me, Bill?
Ahead. Yes.
Well, it's a tough act to follow, I can say that.
That was a hard one.
It sure was, but it's not surprising.
Yes.
My name is Dave Clark. I'm 74 years old. I'm a retired state trooper from New York. Live down here in Florida. And in 2007, I was diagnosed with myasthenia gravis, which is an autoimmune disease. And it affected my speech, chewing, swallowing, and I couldn't keep my eyelids open, and a lot of fatigue. I was very fortunate that I got diagnosed very quickly and was put on drugs, prednisone, Imuran, and Mestinon, and was able to get things under control pretty much. But I was very limited as to what I could do even after 6 months or so on the drugs. So my wife has a business, a miniature artisan, and we traveled around the country and doing miniature shows in a motorhome. And of course, when I got sick, that was the end of that. So my wife had to take care of me, take care of the art entirely by herself, and do her business. But after about, it was 2009, April 2009, so just about 2 years after I got diagnosed, I'd been feeling pretty good, and she had a show in Chicago, so I said, well, I'm going to go with you to Chicago. I think I can do it. I think I'll be okay. So off we went in the motorhome to Chicago. Got back home about 2 weeks later, and it was a disaster. I was right back where I started from. I was back on prednisone again, which I'd been off of. The other drugs I was taking were ramped up to maximums, and it was just a disaster. So at that point, we decided I was not going to do any more traveling, and I would just be staying home. So I'm a cyclist, and the week before I got diagnosed, I had done 147 miles that week. And after about 6 months or so on drugs, I got back on the bike and was able to work myself up to doing 20, 25 miles in a day, but then I'd be a couch potato for 2 days because my energy level was so low. Well, in 2010, I was introduced to Relive and had talked to someone who had myasthenia gravis out in California. So I started off with 4 shakes a day of the Mighty 3, the Classic, Energized, and Fiber Store. And after about 10 days on the product, I said to my wife, I had this sense of well-being. I said, I just feel good. I said, I don't know if it's the Relive or what it is. I said, but it just feel good. 4 days later, I was able to go out and do a 28-mile bike ride, come back home, have lunch, and then go out and mow the lawn. And my wife just looked at me like I had two heads. She said, "What is going on?" I said, "I feel great." And I was able to go out and do that, and it was just amazing. So after a while, she thought, I ought to be on these products too, so she started the products about a month later. But the results that I had included the allergies, of course, which went away. When the oak trees pollinated in the springtime, I would be a disaster, and that went away. But the big thing was the cycling. I was able to go out and build myself back up to cycling 30, 40 miles a day without any problems. And last year, as a matter of fact, I did 5,200 miles on the bike. I did about a half a dozen metric centuries, which is 62-plus miles in one day. And I don't take any medication for my myasthenia at all. I just take the Relive product. And my wife, when she started on it, she suffered from depression for her entire life. And she was on and off antidepressant medication. Well, within 30 days of starting the product, she was off the medication, and she'd never been back on it. The black cloud that hung over her head, even on her best days with medication, are gone. She also had a Baker's cyst behind one knee that disappeared and is now gone completely. Her seasonal allergies improved drastically. Down here in Florida, we have a little thing called fire ants, and when they bite you, they itch, swell up, and cause all kinds of problems for an extended period of time. And we don't get the reaction from fire ant bites anymore. And Linda used to get a horrendous reaction, much more than I did. Now we just get a little bump comes up, it itches for a day, and then it's gone. And another big thing, she had genital herpes, which was a gift from her second husband. And especially when I first got sick and she had to do everything, the stress that she was under, she started breaking out with episodes of the herpes infection that would last up to 3 weeks. It would go away, and within a week it would be back. And this went on for about 6 months. She upped her intake of Relive when she started it to 3 shakes a day, and she went 7 months without an outbreak. So that was an amazing situation with that. And now she gets outbreaks. She still gets them, but they last about 3 to 5 days rather than 3 weeks. They're much less severe, and they go away quickly. So we will never stop taking Relive.
That's great, David. Thank you. Appreciate you coming on and sharing some of what's happened for you, too.
My pleasure.
Okay. Thank you. We're heading over to Louisiana tonight, and Lynette Walker is with us tonight to share something for her husband, Don, and herself. Again, this is one of those stories that you'll have trouble forgetting. So, Lynette, it's our privilege to have you share tonight.
Well, thank you, Bill. I'm happy to be here and pass on the hope that we were given 7 years ago. Again, my name is Lynette Walker. I'm married to my husband, Don. We've been married 32 years, and we live in New Orleans. And in June of 2008, my husband was diagnosed with terminal liver cancer and given 30 days to live. At the time he was diagnosed, the doctor said his tumor marker was the highest he had seen it in his career. Normal tumor marker, it's a AST, alpha protein test, is 0 to 6 in people, and his was 55,000. So he sent us home that day, and I was so upset because we really didn't expect that diagnosis, and he, as an afterthought, handed me a prescription for chemotherapy and said it's going to take about 10 days to have, for your insurance company to approve this prescription. And he said, I don't know that he has 10 days. So we were in a dire state. And that very same night, it was a Friday evening, we were introduced to Relive. And we were listening to Relive calls all weekend. And by Sunday evening, I was talking to Don, and I said, we have to do this. The Relive is offering us hope that the doctors can't offer us. So he agreed, and he got started right away, and had about a week of the relive in him before we got the prescription okayed and had gotten it filled. And it came with terrible side effects warning, just terrible. And the doctor told us that people that did take it usually took it for 3 weeks before they had to get off, 3 to 6 weeks. So he started the product, started the chemotherapy, and we were going to the doctor every week. Didn't tell the doctor what we were doing because I didn't want any negative response from the doctor, and I just felt like this was hope and we were going to give it our best shot. So he kept taking his relive, taking his chemotherapy, and at the 3-month mark, the doctor was scratching his head, and he said, well, let's get another blood test and see what's going on. And the tumor marker had gone from 55,000 to 3,600. So we were just ecstatic about that. John was getting more energy every day, and actually by that time we had even taken a little vacation and went back for Christmas in December for that appointment, and they took his blood again, and it went from 3,600 to 600. So I said, oh, yeah. I told Don I had to come clean and tell the doctor what we were doing. I brought the cans with me, and like Kathy said, the doctor read the cans and said, there's nothing in here that can hurt you, and don't stop what you're doing. Just keep taking it. So we did, and over the next 2 years, we watched that tumor marker drop. We watched Don's energy level go up. He didn't develop any significant side effects to the chemotherapy, and really just stayed the course. And we watched the tumor marker completely drop, and we went in July of 2010, and the doctor told us that she was cancer-free. So that was, just a big, joyous time. His cancer was the result of a hepatitis C virus that he had had since he was 16 years old after an accidental gunshot wound and taking just massive amounts of blood to save his life. So in 2010, they said, let's go ahead, or I think maybe it was 11, let's go ahead and try to get rid of that virus. And they gave him some pretty horrific medicine to cure that hepatitis C virus. And he did okay with it, taking his shake, but he didn't clear the virus, and another tumor appeared in his liver. So he just, again, continued with her shake and continued with the chemotherapy, and that tumor has never grown. It's never done anything. It's just there, not causing any problem. So, we are just thrilled in that time that he, since 2008, after being told he had 30 days to live, his biggest concern was not seeing our daughter graduate when he was diagnosed, graduate from college. That just really, really bothered him, that he wouldn't be here for that. And not only did he see her graduate from college, but the following week he walked her down the aisle. She's coming up on her 5th anniversary. He's getting ready to see our last child graduate from college next month. So we've just had a wonderful, wonderful life since. He's been given these extra bonus years, we call them, from relive, and because of his health, of course, I saw what was happening to him, and I thought, well, I better take this because he was more healthy than I was, and he was on chemotherapy. So I began taking the relive in January of 2009, and in 1998 I was diagnosed with Meniere's disease, and I've had fabulous results with that. Most days I don't even know I have it anymore. Some days I'll have a little breakthrough, but for the most part, it's really under control, which it was never under control before relive.
When people don't know what Meniere's disease is, why don't you tell them what it was and what's happened?
Yes, Meniere's disease is a disease of the inner ear, and it really stops your life because your room spins. There's nothing you can do to stop it. You just have to get in a dark room, close it, and just pray until it's gone. So it's a very debilitating disease, and if you're not having one of those attacks, you still have a fullness in your head that makes it hard to concentrate. So it's a constant problem, even if you're not having a severe attack. It's very uncomfortable, and no, it changes the way you live. So that was such a gift to me, as well as I had problems with TMJ, and I no longer have those problems. So, and just a general well-being. I feel good. John feels good, and we just go about our lives and do what we do. And it's really has truly been a gift to us, and we are so thankful.
7 years.
7 years.
My
7
goodness.
years. Mm-hmm.
You originally told me he had 7 days to 30 days to live.
That's it.
I told you.
That's
and
it.
here we are 7 years out.
Yeah.
You got your husband.
Still have him.
And
so it's amazing.
He's not only alive, he's alive and kicking.
He is alive and kicking. He is alive. Built us a new home, drove to Alaska. Somebody told me, you can't drive to Alaska. I said, well, don't tell Don that because he just did.
Oh, wow.
So, he does feel good.
Wonderful. That's awesome. Well, Lynette, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on and sharing some of your story with us tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I have one more guest for you, and what a treat. What an honor for us to have Sandy Stopko with us tonight. Sandy has a very long story. Is that a little feedback? I guess okay. Sandy is an ambassador with Relive. She not only has a very strong Relive health testimony, but she's reached out and touched a lot of people's lives and made a difference in this world. And it's certainly our pleasure to have Sandy share with us tonight. So, Sandy, we thank you to do that.
You bet, Bill. Well, that was an incredible story, and that really touched my heart because over 50 years ago, I had received the privilege of a scholarship to go into the medical field of radiology. I wanted to go into that field so that I could help people get their life back. And my grandmother, when I was in grade school, had had a stroke, and she lay paralyzed, unable to speak for 6 years. And that's why I wanted to be in the medical field. But when I was treating people with cancer, and at that time it was with radiation, most of the time they did not make it, and they could hardly keep water down. And it was so hard because I was very young. I was in my early 20s. And I really wasn't equipped to handle that type of life and death at such an early age. But it certainly woke me up to what the reality was of what I wanted to do. And the word Relive has an acronym that I share with everyone. Realize every life is valuable. And that's what I saw in the medical field, from newborn babies who were struggling to the seniors that just didn't have quality of life. And when Relive came into my life, I never expected to have a health problem, but I had been in 5 car accidents before I was 25, and the compromise to my immune system began to take its toll. By the time I had our 4th child, I was 31 years old, and I crashed. I couldn't digest and keep food down. The scoliosis that had formed in the middle of my back was affecting my digestive system. I had sciatic pain that went down to the back of my knee, and I lived in constant pain, standing, sitting. There wasn't any relief. So, here I was, a wife, a mother of 4, going to work, trying to keep the budget going. And I was in bed by 8 o'clock at night because the fatigue was so bad. And the part that was hard is I got up every day feeling like I hadn't rested. So I prayed for answers because I had spent $50,000 between age 31 and 54 trying to get my life back. I had gone to organic food. I had gone to chiropractor. I had done acupuncture. I did anything that somebody said I could feel better. And no family has a budget of $400 to $600 a month for one person to try to get their life back. So when I heard the story behind the research and the years that went in to get a patent, it really made sense that the shake would work so much better than 20 to 30 pills that I was taking 3 times a day. So I got on the product with anticipation that I had an answer to prayer. But 2 months on the product, I wasn't feeling like it was doing for me what I had heard all the other stories. Thankfully, someone got me on a call, and this gentleman had a wife with an autoimmune disease called lupus, and I had been diagnosed by the PhD nutritionist that I had systemic candida, which is probably the worst autoimmune that you can have. And this doctor said to me, my dear, 2 shakes a day is what we take when we're healthy and we're trying to maintain health, but you need to change your health. You've been sick for over 20 years. You take 4 shakes a day until you start feeling better. So I did 4 shakes a day for 2 months, and I did 3 shakes a day for about 8 months. So it took my body almost 15 months to get to a level of wellness. And I really didn't know what it was to feel well because I'd been sick for over 23 years. So I was so excited to have energy. I didn't have to go to bed at 8. I was staying up to 11 and getting up in the morning and functioning. But, I was able to share the stories in the beginning. Even though I wasn't looking for a business, I was so excited about the stories and hearing other people complain that I would just say, what if this works for you? And I told them my story. I was going to have time to get well. They knew I didn't look well. But they were willing to try this stuff. And I saw people get their health back. I started feeling better knowing I was helping other people, Bill. And I was actually earning an extra $500 to $1,000 a month just sharing the stories. And I was working full-time, taking a nap for an hour every day just to be able to keep my job. And I started seeing a vision. When I turned 60 11 years ago, I knew I wanted time freedom. I'd get up at 6 in the morning, I'd come home at 6 at night, and I wanted to enjoy my home, my family, and have that choice to do what I wanted to do. So I walked away from that job, and 2 weeks later, I didn't have a paycheck. But I really believed this was what I wanted to do, and I had prayed about it. And we have ambassadors like myself that go out and teach and train. And on a Sunday night, I got the word that one of our ambassadors was in a head-on collision, 37 years old. And that's when God spoke to me, and I put my letter of resignation in the next day. And 2 weeks later, no job. So it was me and the Lord working, and 6 months later, I replaced the medical income. And it continued to grow, and we've had 3 weddings with our 4 children. And every time we had a wedding, there was always the extra to take care of those wedding bills, and I'm so thankful that we paid off the $50,000 debt from my medical. And today my husband and I are 70, but I put on my business card healthy at 70 because I am so excited to have a second chance in life. This is wonderful to live healthy and to reach out to other people and let them have the same choices. So, it's just a blessing to share with everyone because we do need the hope. I don't know what I would have done had I not found Relive.
True. So what happened with your scoliosis, the sciatica, the candida? What happened?
Well, I had been going to the chiropractor and got on the Relive and, of course, added the things that needed to be for the joints. And all of that has pretty well taken care of itself. But my digestion was so bad that I got to the point that I'd eat food and I'd be out and I'd have to go and relieve myself. I couldn't keep food down. And I lost 30 pounds in 1 month. And I looked like I was anorexic bulimic. And I was so sick and tired, and that just took everything out of me. I've been able to put back on all my muscle mass. I have been able to do anything and everything. I don't use a gluten-free diet. Before I was doing everything gluten-free, but I can eat just about anything and everything. I don't have the sciatic pain. I am just living as if people think I'm about 50 years old because I'm healthy, I'm happy, and I don't have any debilitating looking arthritic condition that used to be so bad I could hardly stand straight. So all of that has totally turned around. My body has taken care of what it needed to do to get better.
That's great. And there's a whole lot of things that are in your story we haven't even touched on.
Right.
A couple things that I'm thinking about. You had a grandson with asthma.
I had a grandson that was a 4-pound preemie, and at the same time that I started on the product, he was 5 years old. This young boy had been on antibiotics so much that I feared that it was going to wipe out his whole immune system. Today, in fact, he's flying back from Texas. He was flown over to Texas College for another football interview scholarship. He is a healthy football player, All-American here from Arizona. He's the best of the best. He's 6'3", 320, and he's a mean machine. I tell you, and you know what? This is paying for almost 5 years of his college. Relive has given him his health back, and now he's given, that's about $100,000 worth of education because Relive gave him his health back. And recently my husband had his knee replaced from having years of football injuries. He played college as well, but he didn't have to have that knee replaced until he was 70. And in 2 months, he was back at the gym. He's driving the car. He's doing great. And we're just so glad because epigenetics is a very important factor to me because I lost my biological father at 42 with colon cancer. My husband lost his mother at 40 with heart disease. His father passed away at 55. My husband had unmanaged high blood pressure since he was 30 years of age. Twice he's almost stroked out. And because of Relive, he no longer has to be on 5 to 7 meds. He's down to one full tablet and one small one, but he's not on any statin drugs. And he has life where he would have been gone. I think I would have found my husband dead had we not found Relive.
Well, we've had quite a night of testimony, some powerful things we've heard tonight. So some of our guests may be thinking, my goodness, what is in this stuff? So what's going on, Sandy? How on earth can this Relive product or products that people are using do this stuff?
Well, I've always said if we can digest and absorb, then our metabolism works and our elimination is good. And working around the medical and seniors and seeing in the assisted living, the biggest number one problem is dehydration. The second one is inadequate nutrition. And the third one is an improper elimination. And when you don't get good hydration, good nutrition, and a way to cleanse the body, you're going to wear out, rust out, and clog up. And that's what's happening. And we have a large group of people, the baby boomers, that have been so busy building their wealth that they've sacrificed their health. And Relive has made the most incredible balanced nutritional product that when you drink these shakes, it goes in your body at about a 98% absorption. It gets into the cellular level, and when it happens to go into your bloodstream, it feeds every organ in your body. And when those organs are healthy, then your digestive system works better, your circulatory works better, everything works better. Because without good circulation, which is what pumps all of our blood through, we start having major inflammation, and that is the underlying cause of all the diseases that are out there that you have diagnosis with: arthritis, diverticulitis, sinusitis. And myself, I had all of those things going on because I could not absorb nutrition. So that's the difference. Relive absorbs in your body very quickly. And as long as you're consistent and you take enough of it, the body can actually repair itself with good nutrition.
The body's a miracle. It's got to have the right fuel, and this is certainly the most effective fuel I've ever seen. The body can readily absorb it and immediately go to work and start doing lots of good things with it. So we've certainly seen that. On the business side, so how did you share Relive? How did you build your business, Andy?
It was listening to the stories because 17 years ago, we didn't have all these stories. We only had story calls on Thursday night. I think it was so what I would do is listen to the calls. And when I would hear people complain, I would say, oh, my gosh, I just heard about something that could help. Would you be open to some information of something that could help you? What if it works for you? And they would always say, yeah, I'd like to. Most of them would say, oh, yeah, what is it? Because I would ask them, what are you doing that's helping you? And they'd say, nothing is working. And that's how I would tell the story. So I would get them some information, and I would tell them my story, and it was kind of like, can you get me some of that stuff? Because I told them there's a money-back guarantee. If it doesn't work for you, you're not going to lose anything. What if? So I told 10 people the first month that I heard stories, and by 6 months, I had 95 people that were on the product because they were willing to try something that had a money-back guarantee. And I continued to share stories. And over the years, I had people that just ordered on their own. And the very first person that I started on the product 7 years ago is still one of our master affiliates. She uses the product and shares with people. And we've had about 67 people come in at that top profit level because they wanted to use the best product at the best price. And over the years, they decided that they would share and have some income for retirement or whatever needs they had financially. And we're so excited. We've had 2 international to the Philippines, and they are now ambassadors because they went over and helped people that were their family in the Philippines to get their health back and grow a business in Asia. So that's kind of where it's gone. We are presidential ambassadors, and that just means we've helped a lot of people. And, you know, it was the life-changing stories that took these people into a business because they were willing to help other people have the same hope.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, what a powerful night. We've heard so many powerful testimonies of what the products are doing. You shared a little bit about what happens on the business side. It can absolutely transform your life as well. You get blessed while you're busy helping others. And business travels all over the place. Your business is taking you all over the country and now around the world. Sandy, thank you. Appreciate you so much for joining us. We've run out of time, and I just want to thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're going to wrap things